Adaora, your colleague, pregnant. Are you the father? How could you do this? You are married.
Whispers of secret tales. Not all battles are fought with fists. Some are won with patience and wisdom. This is the story of Inkachi, a woman who turned heartbreak into a lesson, using the very knowledge she carried in her hands. The happy beginning. Nkechi and Nonso were known in their neighborhood as a young couple who had it all. She was a bright pharmacist with a neat little pharmacy shop where she helped families and children daily. She supported Nonso through school with her pharmacy profits. He was a rising star in his office, smart in his suits and full of jokes. They laughed a lot. On weekends, they hosted friends. Their three-bedroom house was their pride. Inkachi had picked up the curtains herself, every flower vase, every color on the wall. People often said, if you want to see a home built with love, visit Nonso and Nkechi. But sometimes, love stories take turns nobody expects. A stranger named Adara. At Nonso's office, a new colleague arrived. Adara. She was beautiful, bold, and ambitious. Hello, I am Adara. How about you? Her laughter echoed in the office corridors, and she quickly drew attention. Nonso was no exception. At first, it was harmless lunches, then secret phone calls, then late nights. Inkachi noticed. A wife always knows. When he came home smelling of perfume, that wasn't hers. She said quietly, Nonso, you are changing. He avoided her eyes.
You are imagining things, Nkechi. Work has been stressful.
But the truth had always taken root. The betrayal. Months later, the blow came like thunder on a clear day. Nonso sat her down, his face heavy. I have something to tell you. Adaora is pregnant. I want a divorce. Nkechi froze.
Adaora, your colleague, pregnant. Are you the father? How could you do this? You are married.
Her well tilted, but she swallowed her tears and said nothing. Then came the final insult. Nonso and Adara wanted the house. Her house, the place she had built, polished, prayed over, and poured her soul into. Adara wants us to live here, Nonso firmly said. So I'll need the house when we divide assets. Inkachi looked at him, her lips curved into a small strange smile. Fine, you can have it. But in her heart, a storm was brewing.
No woman will enjoy my sweat while I live.
Nkechi's family visit. The news of Nonso's decision to divorce Nkechi spread like wildfire through their family compound. Her parents were devastated, and the elders were furious. One Sunday afternoon, her father, Chief Okori, arrived with two uncles and an aunt to speak sense into Nonso. They sat in the living room, the air heavy with tension. Nkechi sat quietly, her eyes swollen from crying. Chief Okori leaned forward, his walking stick resting against his knee. Nonso, my son, he began in a steady, grave tone.
Marriage is not something you throw away like old shoes. Nkechi has stood by you through thick and thin. We came today to beg you, to remind you of your vows before God and man.
One uncle added,
Do you not fear the land? Do you not fear God? A wife is not a piece of cloth you discard when another catches your eye. Think of your ancestors. Think of your family name.
But Nonso's face hardened. He crossed his leg and smirked, refusing to meet their eyes.
Enough of this sermon.
He snapped, his voice rising.
You people don't understand. I am done with this marriage. Nkechi can go her way, I'll go mine. You can't force me to stay with her. I'm not a child.
Nkechi's mother burst into tears, clasping her hands. Nonso, after all she has sacrificed for you, after all the nights she stayed awake nursing you when you were sick, is this how you repay her? But instead of softening, Nonso exploded. He jumped to his feet, his voice thundering through the room.
Get out of my house, all of you. This is my house, not your village council. I don't owe you explanations. Leave before I lose my temper.
The elders froze, stunned at his disrespect. Chief Okori rose slowly, his face burning with rage and shame. He slammed his walking stick on the floor.
Young man, the gods are watching. You have spat on the heads of your elders. Remember today, for the day of reckoning will come.
With that, they walked out, holding Nkechi as she sobbed uncontrollably. Behind them, Nonso slammed the door so hard the walls shook. Little did he know that from that very moment, his downfall was already beginning. After the humiliation of being thrown out, Inkachi sat on the veranda of her father's compound that evening, her body trembling as though she had carried the whole world on her shoulders. Her eyes were swollen, her voice was weak. Her mother, Mama Nkechi, came quietly and sat beside her. For a long moment, they said nothing, just listened to the sound of the crickets singing in the night. Then Mama Nkechi reached out and held her daughter's hand firmly. "My child," she began softly, her eyes glistening with tears. "I know your heart is shattered. I know the man you gave your life to has turned against you. But listen to me carefully. This is not the end of your story." Nkechi shook her head, her voice cracking. "Mama, how can I survive this? I gave him everything. I built that house with him. I loved him more than myself, and now he throws me away like trash." Mama squeezed her hand tighter. "A foolish man who throws away gold for mere stones will one day regret it. Mark my words. Nkechi, he may think he has won because of that Adara, but the gods are watching. Life has a way of humbling men like him." Tears streamed down Nkechi's cheeks as her mother wiped them gently with the edge of her wrapper. "You are my daughter," Mama continued. "You are strong, you are wise, you are beautiful. You are not a leaf that the wind will carry anywhere. One day, Nonso will bow his head in shame, and by then, he will be too late. Promise me, my child. Promise me you will never let his betrayal destroy you." Nkechi buried her face in her mother's lap, sobbing. "I promise, Mama." Mama Nkechi lifted her chin, looked at her daughter in the eye and whispered, "Good. Because the world is bigger than one man's foolishness. And the day will come when we rise so high, Nonso himself will not be able to look you in the eye." Nonso's mother stormed into his house. 2 days after the disgraceful scene with Nkechi's uncles, Nonso's mother stormed into his house unannounced. She was a short, fiery woman, but her voice carried the weight of thunder.
Nonso,
She barked the moment she entered the living room.
is it true? Did you truly send your wife's parents away like beggars?
Nonso, uneasily on the sofa, glancing toward the hallway where Adara was pretending to listen. "Mama, please don't start. You won't understand." "Understand what?" His mother cut in, her eyes blazing.
That the woman who cooked for you, cleaned for you, stood by you is suddenly not enough? That you think you are too big to respect her parents? Tufiakwa, you have brought shame to my head.
Nonso frowned, his pride pricked. "Mama, I have made my decision. Nkechi is not the woman I want anymore. Adara makes me happy. That's fine now." His mother's palm landed on the center of the table with a loud slap.
Happiness. You think happiness comes from chasing small girls in the office? You foolish boy. The gods will judge you for throwing away a good wife. Do you think Adara will suffer with you the way Nkechi has? Do you think she will clean your vomit when you are sick? Open your eyes before it is too late.
But Nonso, blinded by arrogance, stood up and raised his voice. "Mama, enough. This is my life. Nkechi is in my past. I don't care what anybody says." His mother stared at him, her body trembling with rage. Then she shook her head slowly.
You have rejected wisdom, Nonso. You have rejected your blessings. One day you will cry tears you cannot wipe. One day you will remember this woman you are casting away. And by then, it will be too late for you.
With that, she tied her wrapper tighter around her waist, stormed out, refusing to even acknowledge Adara, who stood smirking by the doorway. The silence that followed was heavy, but Nonso dismissed his mother's words, never knowing that her prophecy would soon come to pass. The plan. Being a pharmacist, Nkechi knew chemistry, biology, and the science of decay. One evening, she went to the market, bought fresh goat intestines. The trader wrapped them in a newspaper, laughing.
"Madam, are you cooking soup for the whole village?"
She only smiled. Back at the house, while Nonso was away, Inkachi carefully sliced the intestines into small pieces. She unscrewed every curtain rod in the house, living room, bedrooms, dining. One by one, she pushed the raw meat deep inside. Then she sealed everything back neatly. The house looked spotless, shining even more than before. You could eat from the tiles. No one would suspect. When she finally moved her things back to her parents' home, neighbors whispered about her silence, her calmness, but Nkechi knew. Patience was her weapon. The stench. 2 days after Nonso and Adara moved in, it began. At first, a faint smell. Adara complained.
Nonso, did something die under the bed? This house smells strange.
They cleaned, they mopped, they scrubbed the bathrooms with bleach, but the smell grew stronger. By the third day, it was unbearable. It clung to their clothes, their hair. Visitors wrinkled their nose. This house is cursed, Adora cried, covering her nose with a scarf. They even called fumigators. They tore apart mattresses, checked pipes, searched for dead rats, but the smell lingered, sour and rotten, as if the walls themselves were bleeding. Adara snapped.
I cannot live here. You promised me comfort, not this nightmare.
Nonso grew restless. He had no peace, no sleep, no joy. The house had rejected him. The return. Defeated Nonso finally gave in. At the divorce settlement, he sighed and said, Inkachi, take the house. We can't live there. It doesn't want us. Inkachi smiled, knowing very well her master plan was at work. Thank you, she simply said. When the papers were signed, she returned home, alone.
A house knows its owner. Oh yeah, let's go.
She unscrewed every curtain rod, cleaned them thoroughly, washed the curtains. Slowly the house returned to its sweet, fresh smell. She decorated, filled it with flowers and lights once more. The house stood proud again. Not just walls and bricks, but a symbol of a woman's strength. As she sat in her living room, she whispered to herself,
No woman will ever thrive on my blood, sweat, and tears. This house knows its owner.
The fall of Nonso. Life with Adara was nothing like Nonso had imagined. At first, he convinced himself that beauty and charm would make up for everything. But soon, reality showed its face. Adara, can't you at least tidy the place a bit? Guests could come, he said, his voice edged with irritation. She shot at him a glare.
So now I'm your housemaid. Nonso, I beg you. If you wanted a servant, you should have stayed with that pharmacist wife of yours. Me, I don't stress myself with house chores. Why are you always like this? I can't do this anymore. I don't understand what you want from me.
The words cut him deeply. His chest tightened as the reality of her carelessness sank in. Months later, Adara gave birth to a baby boy. For a moment, Nonso thought things would change. Perhaps motherhood would soften her. But Adara remained the same. She barely touched the baby, unless Nonso forced her, leaving nannies to handle most of the care. One fateful day, Nonso logged into their joint account, only to discover that a lot of the money had been used. Nonso dropped his bag on the sofa after a long day. The room smelled of baby milk and stale food. Plates sat unwashed, the floor sticky.
Adaora, what's going on here? You didn't even cook.
Adara did not cook. She did not clean. She did not care about home. Nonso often came back from work to find dirty dishes stacked in the sink, clothes scattered everywhere. Adara stretched lazily on the sofa, scrolling through her phone.
Nonso, can't we just order food?
She would say, rolling her eyes whenever he asked about dinner. He found himself remembering Nkechi, the way she cooked his favorite meals, ironed his shirts, and managed their home with grace. Nonso clenched his fists. Nkechi would never let this house fall apart like this, he thought. At first, Nonso convinced himself that leaving Nkechi was the right choice. Adara's laughter was sweet and her perfume was intoxicating, her youthful energy exciting. But once the thrill faded, in a real-life setting, cracks began to show. On Saturday morning, Nonso woke up to the sound of his stomach growling. He looked over to Adara, still fast asleep, her wig lying crookedly beside the table. Adara, he nudged her gently. Can you make us breakfast? Even simple yam and eggs. She opened her eye and frowned. Breakfast?
Babe, I'm tired. Order food from that restaurant near the junction.
She rolled over and pulled the blanket over her head. Nonso sighed, his mind flashing back to Nkechi, who always woke up early to prepare him steaming hot pepper soup or plantain and eggs after a long week. The following week wasn't any better. Nonso returned from work one evening to find the living room littered with clothes, shoes, and makeup scattered across the sofa. Adara sat glued to her phone, laughing on TikTok videos. At work, whispers continued to spread. Colleagues shook their heads when he passed. Imagine, he threw away a good woman for Adaora, one said. See him now. He broke his home with his own hands, another added. He began to hear other whispers. In the cafeteria, two colleagues spoke just loud enough. See Nonso, the man who left his wife for a side chick. Now look at him, always looking stressed. The others laughed. Ah, it's true. He destroyed his home with his own hands. Nonso walked past them, pretending not to hear. But his face burned with shame. Whispers followed him everywhere. Colleagues murmured behind his back. Can you imagine? Nonso left his responsible wife like Nkechi for Adaora. Foolish man. See how lust has scattered his home. Mark my words, Adara will finish him. Their gossip reached his ears, and though he pretended not to care, each whisper gnawed his pride. The betrayal. Nonso continued to feel disappointed day in and day out. But instead of Adara just changing, she became worse.
You always do this. You never listen to me.
She still refused to cook, refused to clean, demanded more money. Then one evening after work, Nonso came home to silence. He rushed to the baby's room, empty. He checked the bedroom. Adaora's clothes were gone. On the table, a short note.
Don't look for me. The account is mine now. Goodbye.
He grabbed his phone, tried calling, switched off. At the bank, his heart dropped when the teller said,
Sir, the joint account has been completely withdrawn.
Every kobo gone. Adara had vanished, taking the child with her. Nonso's world crumbled. He felt the walls closing as betrayal regrets suffocated him. The whispers in the office turned into mocking laughter. He had lost everything, his wife, his dignity, his money, his peace. It was then that his mother's words echoed in his mind.
One day you will cry tears you cannot wipe.
And truly, the tears came. Adara had taken everything. At the pharmacy, Nonso stood outside Nkechi's pharmacy trembling. When he finally went inside, Inkachi was at the counter arranging medicine. She looked radiant, her skin glowing, her smile calm. He broke down immediately.
Nkechi, I beg you, please forgive me. I was a fool. I destroyed us. I let Adaora ruin everything. Please, take me back. I can't live without you.
Customers in the shop turned to stare. Nkechi quietly led him to the corner. She said softly,
Do you remember the day you told me you wanted a divorce? Do you remember how you didn't even blink before throwing away our years together?
Tears welled up in his eyes.
I regret it every day. You are the best thing that ever happened to me.
Nkechi shook her head.
Some mistakes can't be undone. I gave you everything and you threw it away. I've moved on.
Inkachi had already met a lovely customer from her pharmacy who expressed interest in her. They were preparing for marriage after dating for a while. She decided to give love a chance again. He was a wealthy man who treated her with respect and kindness.
Yes, I found my wife. Life is good.
The wedding. Weeks later, the city buzzed with news.
Pharmacist Inkachi marries businessman Emeka.
The wedding was grand. Abuja's finest men and women filled the hall. Gold drapes lined the walls. A live band played sweet high life music, and their air smelled of jollof and grilled chicken. It was trending on Pulse, Bella Niger, Instablog Niger, and Mazitundo Inuit. Nkechi looked stunning in her white gown. Emeka smiling proudly beside her. Guests whispered in admiration.
Emeka is lucky, oh. Nkechi is a virtuous woman. See how she suffered, and now God has lifted her.
Another added.
Meanwhile, her ex-husband, I heard he's broke and wandering.
Outside the gate, Nonso stood in the shadows. He could hear the laughter, the cheers, and clicking glasses. He tried to peek inside, but the guard stopped him. He leaned against the wall and wept bitterly. His shirt was damp with tears, his heart shattered as he muttered to himself. I lost Nkechi. I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. No woman can ever replace her. Inside, Nkechi danced joyfully with her husband, finally loved the way she deserved. And so it was. Nonso wondered. Adara faded from his life. Nkechi stood tall. And so, Nonso learned too late that betrayal has a heavy price. Adara left him empty. But Nkechi found happiness with a man who valued her. In the town, the story spread like wildfire. Women whispered to their sons,
respect what is yours. And never forget, sometimes wisdom is sharper than revenge, and silence more powerful than anger.
The lesson? A faithful heart is worth more than fleeting beauty. And sometimes, when you lose a diamond while chasing stones, you can never get it back. What lessons do you learn from this? Tell me where you are watching from. If you love this, kindly like, subscribe, share. Thank you.